Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond Loss, Loving Life with Karen Chaston. How are we all? First Monday in October, and if you probably noticed, I actually had my time scheduled wrong. I had it scheduled for 11 p.m. instead of 11 a.m. because I'm in Queensland and this is done on daylight saving time. So when I set it up wrong. But anyway, I'm Karen Chaston. And thank you for being here. Let me know where you're from. Let me get the comments up. Love to always know where everyone's from. Now, for all of you who may not have met me before, I am Karen Chaston, and I am a Beyond Loss expert. I help people to move beyond any kind of loss and create their better everyday life. Now, I do that through my many programs. I do it through a completely different way of actually looking at loss and deep diving into it. And believe me, with so many different loss events, there are so many things that affect us that we don't even know half the time are lost. We wonder why we're feeling a bit off or this or that and wondering what's happened. Hi, Kelly. Great to see you here from Port Stephens. Beautiful place in Australia. Absolutely lovely. I've been there many times and it is such a beautiful place to visit, and obviously to live would be even better. But I'm on the Goldie, so I can't complain either. So to start off with, I am going to, as always, read out the card that I drew from here, the beautiful Channeled Spiritual Guidance card by Marcia Quinton. Amazing cards. And the one that I drew today is this one, which is number 34, called Austral Traveler. Now, I haven't even read it, but Austral Traveler. Now, I guess most of us are aware, or I shouldn't say I guess most. Are you aware that most of us, well, I think all of us, astral travel at night when we sleep? We go off into the universe, we catch up with past loved ones, we go on these amazing journeys, and of course, we normally don't remember it. Some people remember them, I don't remember mine, but I've been told about mine, and I'm going to read this and then I'm going to share a little story that happened probably about 2 years after, no, probably a little bit longer than that, 2.5 years, nearly 3 years after my son passed. This amazing story, which I'd love to share with you today, which, surprising, is all about us astral traveling. So, Astral Traveler. Today you are opening the mind and tapping into your journeys of dreams and astral travels. You are opening Pandora's box of memories that are accumulating within your thoughts. You are awakening to the memories of your dreams and astral journeys through subtle glimpses and flashes. This is aligning you to the journey of your life. There is no need to repress these dreams and futuristic thoughts, as they have stirred a deep desire within your soul. How amazing is that? The power cannot be hidden for long. Be unafraid and step forward into the future. You are conscious of the opportunities that you have been shown. Your abilities have stayed dormant until you were ready to progress forward. Trust in yourself. Isn't that the most amazing card? Let me know what you think about this. I just find that so amazing. Hi, Maria. Great to see you. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Johnny. Great to see you here. And Kay. Morning, beautiful. I really need to know my son will get through the toughest time of his life. Kay, you may have only just come on. I don't do that. I am not a medium. I am not a channeler. I help people to move beyond any kind of loss. Though I can help you in the fact that you can tap in to find out if he will get through the toughest times of his life. But do you know what? Even if he doesn't get through the toughest time of his life, the beautiful thing is that he's going to learn and grow and become the person that he came here to be because of this event. Okay. And I know we don't want to hear that. We want to know, is he going to be okay? Isn't he? Especially when it's our child. But I know from experience, and obviously I help people move beyond any kind of loss. And no matter what this toughest time in his life, it may be a loss of some sort. And I'll just share with you, I'll just get up my little screen and I will share with you up. Where have I gone? Oh, I've disappeared myself. Let me bring myself back. Okay. So what I know for a fact is that there are over 40 different loss events. And let's have a look at these because there are so many loss events. And I'm sure that the toughest time of his life can be perceived to probably be one of these great loss events. And the thing is that loss comes to us to assist us to stop, to look at where we are, and to just really reevaluate our lives and to come to a place where we can create our better everyday life moving forward. And it's not easy. I know it's not easy. We want our children and ourselves to have an easy life. But that's not what life's about. Our life is about us living all the experiences and having these challenges come up into our life so that we can actually find our clarity, our hope, our joy, our happiness. And it may take a little while, but he will definitely end up in a better place if he doesn't quite get through this tough time that he is going through at the moment. I hope that assists you. Hi, Christine. Thank you for sending me love and light to you and your son. Okay, so let's go back because I was going to share a story about Austral traveling. Oops, let me go back. I don't want to go there yet. I want to go here. So I'm going to share a story about Austral traveling because this is the card that came up today. And I think it's really important for us to all to remember. Remember is the best word I can use at this time. To remember that what we do at night is we Austral travel with all of our loved ones, our past loved ones. And probably with our loved ones in this realm as well. We probably meet up over there and we go wherever we're going to go. And it's really important for us to understand that. So most of you know that my son Dan passed away in July 2011. So it's just over 10 years since he was here in the physical. But Dan is here in every other way. He's here emotionally and he's here spiritually. He is the one that has guided me to be doing exactly what I'm doing today. And I credit Dan with assisting me to write all of my books, to help me become a speaker, to help me to create all my programs. Everything I do is I credit Dan. And Dan is the co-founder of the Chaston Centre. So I love having him here, and I do actually spend more time with him than I do with his two brothers and sister in this realm. So it's really important for us to know that even though they're not physically here, they are here in every other way. So Dan passed in 2011, and in 2014, I was writing my second book, which was called Beyond a Mother's Worst Nightmare. And I sent it to a friend in America, and I asked her, Adrian is her name, and I said, Adrian, can you please read the book? Let me know your thoughts, where it's at, all this sort of stuff. Now, Adrian reads energy, right? And she's amazing at reading energy. She's really amazing. So then about a week or so later, I got an email from her and she said, Karen, I've been told to stop reading the book. And I'm like, what do you mean you've been told to stop reading the book? Who told you to stop reading the book? And she said, Dan. Dan said, stop reading the book. He wants to have a three-way conversation with me. And I said, okay, well, how am I going to do that? She said, well, with me. And I said, oh, I didn't know you did that. And she said, yeah, of course I do. So we set up this three-way conversation. And during the three-way conversation, I asked Dan how he passed. Now, Dan went out the night before with his mates. We thought a healthy 27-year-old had gone out the night before. And then in the morning, we woke up to him passed out at our back door. We thought he was unconscious, but unfortunately, he had passed away a few hours earlier. And we didn't really know exactly what happened. So they gave us a little bit of guidance in his autopsy and then in the findings, but it didn't really actually tell us. So during this three-way conversation, I said to Dan, how did you pass? And he told me that he'd come down the back because he lived under the house with his girlfriend, and not in a Harry Potter cupboard. He actually lived in a little granny flat underneath the house. So I said to him, what happened? And he told me that he fell over and he had drunk a lot of alcohol and it shook up in his body. And then he fell over and he was lying there and he couldn't catch his breath. So his lungs had failed him. He had pneumonia 2 years earlier when he was in the UK, in Scotland actually, and had spent a week in hospital. So whether they had weakened his lungs, I'm not sure. But at the autopsy, they did say that if he had smoked full on for, say, 10, 12 years, he was only 27, that he couldn't have done a quarter of the damage of the lungs. So he said, my lungs failed me, Mum. I went to catch my breath and I just couldn't catch my breath. And I said to him, did you know you were passing? And he said, yeah. And I said, how was that? And he goes, I just wanted life. I wanted life. He said, but I knew that it was going from me. I said, oh, Dan, I'm so sorry that we were in the front bedroom asleep while you were going through that. And he went, don't worry, Mum. You and Dad Austral travelled to me and helped me pass. And I just went, oh, my God, how amazing is that? Now, let me know your thoughts on that because that's so important that we Austral travel at night. I knew we did that, but I didn't know that we actually assisted our loved ones to transition at the same time. So that's why I say it could be with people in this realm or in the other realm that you're actually visiting at night when you're Austral traveling. So I don't know about you, but I find that totally amazing and comforting. And why do I find it so comforting? Because sometimes we feel that when we leave this realm, we're going to be doing it by ourselves. But, I have so much evidence of, from my son and all of these things that he wasn't alone when he passed. He had people from the other realm. He had his two grandfathers. He had my grandmother there. He had so many people there with him when he went on to his next adventure. And I don't know about you. I just find that so comforting to know that, we're not here alone. We do come into this world alone and it appears that we leave alone, but we're not. We've always have our guides with us. And we always have these amazing people who are putting thoughts into our heads, who are helping us. So, Kay, tap into your guides and ask your guides the question, will your son be okay? Will he be able to move beyond this tough time of his life? Because believe me, if it doesn't work out the way that you'd all would like it to, he's going to end up in a much better place down the track. He may have to go through a little while of grief or anger or these really hard things that are happening for him, but eventually he will always end up in a better place. We always are going. We live a constant life of love to loss and then back together. But we don't have to stay in loss as long as what we do. We can travel very quickly back to love. And that's what I love to assist people to do. And that's what I'd like to talk to you about. So are there any questions about what I've just shared? And the reason I shared that story, I wasn't going to share that story. It certainly wasn't what I planned until I picked this card today and just read it to you, the Austral Travel card. And I was guided that when I saw it, I thought, will I share this card? And it went, yeah, of course, share the card, share the story. Because it's really important for us to know that we are never alone. Even in our darkest moments where we feel all alone, we are never alone. Okay, so let's have a look at this. And this is what I call at the Chaston Centre the Gift of Loss program, right? And it's a 5-step loving process, a very loving process that assists you to be able to move beyond any kind of loss. And we saw the list, the over 40s, the over 40 different kinds of loss. Okay, I'm just going to read this before I go on. Lorraine, thank you. Awesome. Never alone. I always used to say I was alone, and one day I heard my guide say, "You're never alone," which is so comforting, as you say. It so is, Lorraine. You know, no matter where you are, it's so beautiful to know that you're never alone. But what I have found that if you are physically alone, if you really love who you are never alone anyway. You know, a couple of months ago, I went to Sydney for 5 days and I ended up staying 6 weeks because they went into lockdown. And then I came back to the Gold Coast and I was in hotel quarantine for 2 weeks. And I have to tell you, I was never lonely. I loved my 2-week stay. You know, I'd get phone calls all the time. I have so much to do. I was even doing my show like this live because I had enough sense to make sure I took my camera and all those sort of things with me. But the beauty of it all is everything is when you really start to love who you are, you're never alone anyway, because you really enjoy your own company, especially when you start to, let me come back here before I go into this, especially when you start to really monitor the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you think, and the way that you start to really notice your language, because it's so easy for us to berate ourselves and to bring ourselves down and to make us smaller than what we actually are. But the more that you tap into you and the more that you begin to love you, you will never, ever be alone. Believe me. I have so much fun when I'm by myself. I have so much fun when I'm with other people as well. But I really do love being around. And there's so many amazing things that you can do. So if you feel you're ever lonely, reach out to me, because believe me, I could give you a really long list of how you will not ever be lonely, believe me. So thank you, Lorraine, for your comments, and it is so nice. Thanks, Kerry. Nice to see you here as always. I find it very instant. So, Maria, I think grief is hard to come out of when you try to do it alone. Yes, Maria, I will agree with you on that. There is, it is different. And the good news is, I don't know if everyone is aware, my Demystifying Loss book, I'm in the final editing stages of it. So hopefully that will be out definitely before Christmas, but I'm actually hoping it'll be out in early November. That's what I'm aiming for, is to have it published, definitely online, and then obviously printed copies after that. But definitely, I'm very, very excited that I am in the final stages of Demystifying Loss. And Maria, it details what I'm about to actually share with you, but it guides you on how you can move beyond any kind of loss. Thanks, Kerry. Not quite there, but I'm busy editing and, you know, getting the book ready, and I've got the cover. Just I'll be sharing the cover with you in a couple of weeks, plus a link where you can all pre-order either a Kindle copy or, of course, a printed copy. And down the track, I'm really even thinking of actually maybe even doing an audio on it. I've just got to deep dive into that. I want it to be my voice. And the only thing is that in certain parts of it, I sort of tear up. So if I'm going to be the person reading it, I need to obviously tear up or not tear up. What do you think? Have you ever read an audio book where the person reading it is actually, I was going to say the author, but what is the term? I guess it's the author, is reading it, and then she sort of gets a bit emotional, you know, when I share some of my stories in it. What do you think? How would you feel if you if you were listening to an audio book and it was a little bit emotional in certain parts? Would that sort of turn you off, or wouldn't it? Let me know that. I'd really love for you to actually let me know that. But anyway, let's get back to where we are. So here we are, narrator. Thank you, Lorraine. That was the word I was looking for. Excellent. I was like, what is that word? But yeah, narrator. Of course, it's narrator. So, understanding. You would be understanding it. Is that what it means, Kerry? If you actually heard the narrator, who is also the author, reading the book, how would you feel? Good question. I'd love to know the answers on. Right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through, yes, thank you, Kerry. We're going to go through the 5-step process of the gift of loss, which, as I said, is detailed in to assist people to be able to move beyond every kind of loss. And even though you could follow the steps in the book, you don't do it all alone either, because through certain steps of it, you are guided to have a beyond loss partner to assist you through these steps, because you need someone to be able to listen. And when I say listen, it's really, really important that they listen, and really active listening. So the difference between an active listener and someone who's listening is an active listener is listening to understand, to hear, to hear you. And they're not trying to listen, to respond. They are just there to listen. And to be quite honest, your beyond loss partner doesn't even comment. They keep their own beliefs and their own opinions about what you are sharing with them to themselves. And then they then keep it confidential, and they don't share it with anyone else, and they don't even really discuss it with you, because whatever you are sharing is your experience. And there's no need for anyone to validate it. There's no need for anyone to have you thought of this or have you thought of that, to provide a different perspective, because everything is from your perspective, and everything is exactly how it's meant to be at that time in your life. Sure, down the road you may check it, you may change it, but at that time it is exactly how it's meant to be. Right. Empathetic and connecting with the narrator. Thank you, Lorraine. Yes, 2 kinds of listeners. Excellent, Maria. Right. So the first step in the gift of loss process is to get the thing working, is to stop. Whoa. Most of us have stopped over the last 18 months, nearly 2 years. And isn't it funny what has happened as we have stopped? Most people who don't like being by themselves are not very happy about stopping. But the ones who have already started on the deep dive and have already started to get to know who they are, emotionally, mentally, physically, and also spiritually, the stopping wasn't as hard. And that's what I've really noticed. And in the stopping, it's about you actually taking the time to actually go, what does this mean for me now and moving forward? Right? Because it's really important in the stopping stage that we get to take what I call a conscious loving breath. Now, I'm going to share with you what a conscious loving breath is, because it's really important that we actually understand this. So a conscious loving breath is where we take the time to breathe deep down into our belly. We breathe in and we hold it into our belly. Now, what's in our belly is the nerve endings of the vagus nerves. And the vagus nerve goes all the way up to our hypothalamus, which is our command center of our brain. So when we breathe in consciously and start to activate those nerve endings, they fill us up so that then we can feel, right? We can think, and we can intuit better. So we actually have 3 brains. We have our mind, our heart, and our gut. So the fact that we're breathing into past our heart, into our gut, and then it comes up into our brain, we're actually giving ourselves a total, like a the paddles, when you have a heart attack and they get out the paddles, we've all seen it on shows, and they jumpstart you back. Well, that's what this conscious loving breath does. It jumpstarts you into loving yourself, into knowing what is best for you now and also into the future. So let's do a conscious loving breath together. Okay, now you can sit or stand. I like to stand when I do it because I just feel everything just flows better. You can stand taller. You can just put your shoulders down. You don't breathe in and go, no, you keep your shoulders down when you do this beautiful conscious loving breath. So you breathe in, and the most ideal way to do it is to breathe in. So say breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, and then breathe out for 6. And the reason why we breathe out longer than we breathe in is the breathing out actually puts you into your parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so I'll explain very quickly what that is. So what we have is we have a sympathetic nervous system and a parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is what activates the adrenaline. That's what we need when we go into fight, flight, or freeze, right? So this is where the blood all goes to our extremities. It was all designed when we used to have to run away from saber-toothed tigers so that we could run faster, fight faster, and do all those sort of things. And then we have the parasympathetic nervous system, and that is our rest and restore. So we can't live in the sympathetic, we can't live in the parasympathetic. We need to have balance between the two. And our breath can actually put us into one or the other or create balance. So if you want to go into your sympathetic for some reason, and believe me, you will have reasons. It could be because you're about to do a presentation, or you're about to go in and see your boss and ask him for more money. You need to be in your sympathetic nervous system. You need to be heightened. You need to be, still come from love, but you need to be alert. So you would do the opposite of what we're going to do. You would breathe in longer and breathe out for less. But because we're going to put you into your loving rest and restore so that you can actually come back, because we're at the stop stage, we want to be heightened in figuring out the love, the way that we can love ourselves more, the way that we can bring love into our life so that we can move forward from everything that we're about to decide upon. Okay, so let's do that conscious loving breath. Remember, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 6. Okay. Now you can breathe out with noise as well. I didn't breathe out with noise, but let's do one with noise. And the reason you breathe out with noise is that gives you a big whoosh of releasing all of the angst, all of the fear, everything that is a perceived negative emotion. It releases all of that so that you can bring in that love. So let's do it with noise. Ah. Or we can go, ah. Feels really good. Okay. So that's what we do when we stop. So we breathe that conscious loving breath, and then we start to ask ourselves the questions. Now, I have found that the quality of your life always comes back to the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. Because when you ask yourself a question, there is an answer always waiting to be, there's always an answer waiting to be revealed. And for every answer waiting to be revealed, there's an action step waiting to be taken. And for every action step taken, it moves you one step closer towards where you want to be. So that's what's really important for you to start to deep dive into the quality of the questions that you are asking yourself. If there's something going on in your life that you're not really happy about, start writing, start asking yourself some questions. What is wrong with this? What's another way of looking at this? Is there another perspective? Is there something I'm missing? Is this actually good for me? Is this taking me to where I'd like to be? There's so many questions that you can always ask yourself. And through the quality of the questions, the answers that you'll start to come up with, you'll end up with a list that you can stop doing, start doing, and continue doing. So that's the things that you want to really look at when you're in the stop phase. Now, most people don't stop. I didn't stop when Dan passed. I went straight back to work the day after Dan's funeral. I worked harder. I ate more. I drank more. I just continued on. And I buried my emotions through my avoidance tactics. And working and keeping busy is an avoidance tactics. You got to understand that, for centuries and centuries, we've said things like, keep busy, give it time, everything will be all right. It doesn't work that way. It's in the stopping that we actually get the most ideal way forward for us. And believe me, it took me nearly 2 years before I properly stopped. And even then, I had to have another loss event come in, which was in the form of me choosing redundancy before I took the time to stop and do the deep dive into what is the best way forward to me. I completely changed my career. I used to be a CFO of a publicly listed company. That's the number one accountant in a publicly listed company. Completely different to what I'm doing now, but I love what I'm doing now. I love helping people to see a better way forward from any kind of their losses so that they don't have to be stuck in that Groundhog Day days like I was. Believe me, everything in my programs is a complete opposite of what I did. I did it the hard way, so you don't have to do it the hard way. Right. Thanks, Maria. I'm not sure what the is about, but I hope it's expand on the hopefully it was about the breath. Isn't the conscious loving breath the most amazing thing that you could ever do? The second step is to accept. Now, it's not easy to accept what has happened. And the reason why it's not easy to accept what has happened is because in every relationship, right? And it doesn't matter what the loss event is, whether it's a death of a loved one or a marriage partnership breakdown, or whether it's a job loss, or it's your health, or it's your wealth, or it's, any of the other 40 plus loss events. It is not easy to accept the end of that relationship. If I'm talking about your job, the end of being part of that company, of all the plans that you had for that role, all the things that you wanted to do, all the ways that you wanted to enhance it, right? It's not easy to accept these things because in every relationship, we have hopes, dreams, and aspirations. It's not easy to realize that, you know what? They're not going to be achieved the way that we really wanted to. If only we'd had a little bit more time, we could have done all of these things. And that's what stops us a lot of the time is these regrets and the fact that we're like, oh, why did I wait? Why didn't we just do these things? And this pandemic is really highlighted to a lot of people. Why didn't I go on that overseas trip? Or why didn't I do all of these things earlier? What was the reason? And that's what stops us from accepting. But the funny thing is that the more that you deep dive into the accept step of the gift of loss process is the easier you start to see that, okay, I still have all these hopes, dreams, and aspirations. They're just not going to be achieved in the way that I had planned. And when you start to have that perspective, you start to see, right, but I can still achieve them in a different way moving forward. So I don't have to throw them all out of my hopes and dreams and aspirations. They can still happen, just slightly differently, or possibly with someone different. Okay. And I'm not saying you're automatically going to replace that person. And, I'm not just talking about a partner or a loved or a like a husband partner sort of thing. I'm talking about any sort of relationship. We all have hopes, dreams, and aspirations for all of them. Like I had so many for Dan. I wish that he could have, like his two brothers and his sister, got married, had kids, and do all the things that they're doing now, 10 years on. But of course, that wasn't meant to be for him. So it's really important that we understand and accept the way things are. And once we've done the deep dive into the things that we're finding hard to accept, we also start to do the deep dive into our emotions. Now, our emotions are our friend. Okay? I'm going to say that again because a lot of people are going to go, Karen, you're crazy, girl. There's no way that is possible. So I'm going to say it. Your emotions are your friends. Okay, now I want you to sit on that. I don't want you to automatically go, not true, you're crazy, no way. Okay, so let me explain. Your emotions come up to assist you to heal. Okay, we've got really, really good at avoiding them. Okay, the whole world has. Got to look around. Food, alcohol, drugs, working too much, anger, shopping too much, Netflix, social media. There is every single one of them. If you deep dive into them, avoidance, 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 avoidance. If I do all of these things, I don't have to be alone. I don't have to deep dive into my emotions. I don't have to listen to anything that they're selling me. But guess what happens? They're still going to come up. They're still going to be there no matter what. In the quiet of the night, they're still going to come to visit because they're your friend. They're there to guide you so that you can more easily move beyond any kind of loss. But in the process, learn the lesson because we're all here on a spiritual journey. We're all here for spiritual lessons. And everything that happens in our life, now I hope you hear that, everything that happens in our life is for us so that we can develop on a spiritual level. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy. But the sooner that you start to tap into this and actually feel into it, I'm not telling you to believe me without actually doing your own research, but feel into it. When I say things like this, feel into how it makes you feel because you are the master you are seeking. You have the inner guidance to know if this is right. And if it resonates with you, a lot of the times you'll even get the shivers, which is God's tick, right? And I'm not saying God's actually ticking what I'm saying. He's actually saying to you, listen to this. This is how you remember. This is how you remember that everything that's happened in your life has happened for you. So the more that you deep dive into your emotions, the more you can start to ask the questions and the more that you can come up with the things that you really want to either forgive, apologize for, or even just to acknowledge. And that's where we move on to the next step, which is the identify. So we've come to acceptance and then we go into the identify. And this is where we really identify what these emotions are about, how we deep dive into them, how we can actually go, wow, okay, this is what happened. So often in every relationship, both of us, there's always two people in every relationship, and it's two people that need to take responsibility for the things that have been done and said and the way that they make you feel and the way that they, whatever the emotion is, whether it's a perceived positive or a perceived negative emotion, it's an emotion. And every emotion is there to guide you so that you can learn and grow and very quickly get out of loss into love. And it's through this deep dive that we actually can do this. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not easy, right? It's not easy. But the good news is that the more you do it, the less the emotions will come up for you because you've healed that emotion. And it could be that you've healed it with this person. And then the funny thing is it will heal with someone else as well. And it is about you learning how to apologize, how to forgive, and how to acknowledge. And when you forgive, it's really important for you to understand that forgiveness is not condoning whatever has happened or what has been said. It's about understanding that the more that you forgive and the more that you can come to that understanding that nothing was done to you, it was done for you. And I know it's not an easy concept to embrace, but it is a huge part of the identify stage. And it is, there's so many amazing things out there around forgiveness. And the one that I love the most is that if you find it hard to forgive, right, start to think of it as you drinking poison, expecting someone else to die if you cannot forgive. So really deep dive into that, because it's really important. If you're holding back your forgiveness, the only person you're hurting is yourself, because you're the one that is stewing over it, who can't let it go, who can't heal it. The other person has probably forgotten about it, not even realizing that you're still so uptight. And, that uptightness in your body causes disease, because our emotions are energy in motion, and if they're not flowing easily, they are in dis-ease, and that's what causes disease in your body. So start to really embrace that. If you do nothing else from today's little talk, really start to understand how important it is for you to be able to forgive, not condone, forgive. There's a huge difference. And reach out to me. Like, there's so many amazing books on forgiveness, just on forgiveness, which I highly recommend. And you know what? One of the best things you can do is start writing in a gratitude journal. That's my Earth gratitude journal. I have the elements collection. So I have obviously one for water, air, fire, and earth. This is my beautiful Earth one. Start writing. These are amazing books. When Dan first passed, I started writing in a gratitude journal. Probably about just after I left my corporate life. And I loved my gratitude practice. I still love my gratitude practice. But what I found was the books were beautiful on the outside, and on the inside, they were just plain pieces of paper. So I was guided to create my Elements Collection gratitude journals. And here's the Earth one. And as you can see inside, let me go full screen on this so you can see it a little bit more clearly. Wait on. Here. So as you can see on the inside, so on the left-hand side, I have the day number where you put your date. I have a beautiful photo, and I have a gratitude saying. And there are 99 pages like this, right? So the day number is a chakra color, and in the front of the book, I get you to I suggest that you tune into the chakra color for the day in your body, and there's guidance in the front for each chakra. Then all of the photos, I took all of them except for in fire, because I couldn't, I just thought I can't take 99 fire photos. I think I'm an arsonist or something. But anyway, and then the gratitude journals, all unique saying, and then you write your 5 things down here each day that you love to do. Beautiful practice. If you are finding it hard to forgive, start writing in a gratitude journal, because believe me, you will so easily come into love and gratitude, and you will realize that everything in your life has been done for you, not to you. Highly recommend that. Okay, that's my little side thing. Now, Maria, all resonates. I was stuck to go and was forced to settle down many times. It is. And, the funny thing about it, I can remember in my corporate life, I would go on holidays, I'd get sick. That's your body telling you, okay, you've stopped, stop. When I was studying, I didn't start studying my master's degree of accounting until I was 38. And I was working full-time at Dreamworld. I had teenage children at that stage, a husband, and me, and I was just going, and studying full time. Or doing 2 subjects, so half of what you would normally if you're a full-time student. So I did 2 each semester instead of 4, but at Bond University, they have 3 semesters a year. So for most of the year, I was go. I'd stop, I'd be sick for a week. And there was one week I couldn't even get out of bed. I was so sick. But it was my body saying, right, good, you got to stop. You got to recuperate. So the stopping is so important. And then it's the accepting, and then it's the identifying. This process works for everything in your life, not just loss, for anything that is not going the way that you would like to do. It's about you taking the time to deep dive into it, accepting what it is, accepting what you don't have to accept, and finding what it is, identifying. And then the next one is to, let me get over there. It's not going to go over there. Little mouse, they don't have a mind of their own. The 4th step is to complete. Now, the complete stage is where you bring the first 3 all together. Everything that you've gathered over those first 3 stages is where you bring them together. And the beautiful thing about it is that you actually start to really, really formulate it so that you can bring all the things that you would like to apologize for, all the things you'd like to forgive, all the things you'd like to acknowledge. And then you write this beautiful letter, okay? Whether it's, to your ex-boss, or whether it's, about a past loved one, or your ex-partner, or yourself, for not looking after your health, or it's for yourself or whoever, the reason why you may have financial problems, even if it's your pet. And your pet is such an important part of your family. This is a great process if you have actually lost your pet. It's a beautiful process for this. So then you hook up with your beyond lost partner and you read them to. You never ever send the letter to the person if they're in this realm. Never. There's no need to. They will energetically feel the completion of this relationship. And you'll be surprised, especially if it's an ex who you are not getting on with. You do this process, you'll be surprised at how your relationship moving forward, if you have kids and you have to continue a relationship, how it will change and it'll become more amicable because you have released all of the emotions as this about the ending of that relationship. It's absolutely the most beautiful process. I can highly recommend. And then from there, we go on to the 5th step, which is to pivot. And the pivot stage is where we actually deep dive into where you want to be, where you are, not only in one area of life, but in the whole 9 areas of life. And in the Chaston Centre, we have 9 areas of life. And the reason why we have 9 areas of life is because 9's all about birthing. It's all about an end of a cycle. It's all about creating new. So when we actually get to the pivot stage, we look at deep dive into all areas of our life, where we are now, where we would like to be, and then we develop the action plan through asking ourselves those beautiful questions on how we can close that gap from where we want to be to where we are now. And we just close our gap and close that gap and close that gap. And then, of course, when we get there, we do the exercise again and we go, right, this is where I am now. Where do I want to be? Because it's always about us continually coming to the phase where we are living and loving our lives. So that's the 5-step process. So I'd love your thoughts on it. Any questions? Oh my God, here it is, nearly 50 minutes. I don't have long left. I've been talking all that time. While you're typing away, I am going to have a quick drink. So, any questions? No? Okay. So, as I said, my demystifying book will be out in hopefully within the next couple of months. Hopefully sooner, that's the aim, but that will definitely be happening. The other thing is that I love to share here is so many people are like, I'm lost, I don't know what to do, and how can I move forward really quickly? Because the process will take a little while. And what I've found with every single person that I've had the privilege of working with one-to-one is I have found that during life, we lose who we are. We lose our identity. We're not really sure where we are, how to move forward, what's it all about. So the easiest way that I have found is for us to actually start to revitalize our life, to reconnect to us. And that's what I have created. I've created this amazing program, which is called Revitalize Your Life. And it is a pathway to give you the clarity and the joy and the fulfillment so that you actually know to be able to do all of those steps and to actually figure out, especially the pivot stage of where you are now and where you want to be. Because sometimes we get so lost in our life that we really don't know what is the best way forward for us. And that's not good. That's not good for any of us to actually be so lost that we're like, where do I go from here? Like, what is the best way forward for me? And how can it happen? So that's why I created this beautiful, let me get back to wherever I am meant to be. And thanks, Kerry, for saying it's a great course. I had so much fun putting this together earlier in the year that I just love it. So the good thing is that you can, it's 45 days of each day you receive a beautiful activity to do, takes no more than 45 minutes, if that, probably less. And what you can do is each day you do it, and each day you're reconnecting to you, you're revitalizing your life. It's giving you a new perspective, a new way of looking at things, which is really amazing, because the more that we actually start to learn the things that we don't know, or to start to look at things from a different point of view, we can start to actually go, oh, wow, we live in a world of limitless possibilities, and we can, which is amazing, because isn't that what we want? Don't we want all of these possibilities so that we actually go, do you know what? If I can't do it this way, I can do it this way, or I can do it this way, I can do this, or whatever. And that's the beauty of it. So that's what this Revitalize Your Life is all about. And it's 45 days of you having your own little area to log in where you can watch the videos, download what the day's activity is about, and then obviously complete the activity. And the good news is it's $1 a day. Yes, you heard right. $45 in total. That is what I have purposely kept this amazing course at, because it's really important for us all to start to revitalize our life, to reconnect to who we are. And that's what this does. So are there any more questions? And thanks, Kerry, for saying that it was a great course. It's really is great. So as I said, I'll be here again next week, 11 a.m. Queensland, noon, obviously in the Eastern Standards, in the Daylight Saving States, which is great. If there's no more questions, I am going to leave you, because today is a day where I'm going to hang out with my family, because for the rest of the afternoon, which is really, really exciting. Any more questions? Any more things? Thanks for interacting, everyone, especially Maria. Glad it all resonated with you. I'll just wait a couple of seconds. If not, have an amazing week, and make sure that you take the time to make it meaningful, memorable, and magical. Bye for now.